So, as in the TV series, I try to summarize the background. You remember this story focused to the formation of world economic system. Started with the definition of basic concept, started the definition of evolution of theory, and the first phase of world economic system had two poles. A northern pole in the area of low country, and the southern pole on the northern city-state of Italy. And the meeting point between these poles was the fairs of Champagne. This is the first phase of formation of world economic system. The second one, when whole of the medieval economic structure destroyed by crisis of 14th century, the Black Death, the Great Crisis. 1/3 of European population is killed, it's cancelled. And after the deep crisis, started the modernization. This is the starting point of the modernization, and the first leading city which dominated not only a European economic structure, but the area which connected to European economic system, Indian Ocean, some part of northern part of Atlantic Ocean, where started the formation of world economic system. The first leading city was Venice. The second one, Antwerp. Antwerp was a casual location of world economic system, casual leading city. Why? Because this was a meeting point between Portuguese, who discovered the direct way to the Indian Ocean, to the Spice Island, and the German merchants who organized the proliferation, commercialization of spice on the continent. After decline of Antwerp, after decline of German merchant houses, started the third leading city, Genoa. Genoa, basically a financial core area of 16th century, and was a background and the most important banking function offered for the Spanish Empire, Spanish colonial empire, and organized the trade between Iberian Peninsula and the New World. And after decline, in consequence of bankruptcy of 1627, declined the Genoese and started the new age, this age Amsterdam. I have to speak a little bit about the background of Amsterdam, background and formation of the Netherlands. This was the last slide in the last week. This map showed how form a landscape without dams and without dikes, without water regulation. You can realize majority of the Netherlands should to be a water-covered area. But recently and in the past, never was a water-covered area. In consequence, great and very efficient practice of water regulation performed by Dutch water engineers. Contemporaries describe this country an artificial country, because a little bit more than 20% of the area under water cover of sea level. For example, Ustaritz wrote half countries under water. Holland is a barren country, it is land floating in the water. And the last one, Ludovico Giucardini, wrote the land is low-lying, the rivers and canals are enclosed by dikes so that they do not flow on the ground level. And in many places one sees that great astonishment, the water is higher than the land, because necessarily somehow manage is flowing back to the sea, the water covered area and the water from the deep area. Okay, the first line of the difference, line of the water regulation, Tunis. Somebody visited in Netherlands, Belgium or Luxembourg? Which country? Netherlands, how long time?
A day.
1 day? Yeah, I suggest to you postpone a little bit more longer time, because it's very interesting country, very interesting country. And the June never you visited in the coastal area? No. A dune, it's a natural defense line against the water, against the sea. Why? Because, unfortunately, this is a new place, temporary. Find the sea. And this kind of grass able to grow with salt water, because majority of vegetation not able, it's optional. Everything, every seed. Okay, and normal situation of vegetation, the plants not able to grow with salt water, except this kind of the grass. And the first form of defense, it's managing and saving grass cover on the dikes and later and the dams. And later, a more complicated engineer-based line of water regulation and the defense constructed by Dutch engineers. The contemporaries named this country a sacred fool or miracle kind of country. Dutch miracle described or Dutch secret. Very small country. Generally, for example, a foreign student, it's possible surprise that the Hungarians speak about his and her country. It's a small country. Size of the country, a little bit in the past was a little bit larger, but recently 93,000 square kilometers. Compared with Dutch Republic only half the contemporary Hungary. But nobody thinking about the Netherlands, it's a small country, but very small. If somebody drives, for example, by car, 2 hours able to driving through whole of the country. It's geographically a small place. And even though recently more than 3,000 square kilometers under water. It's a very small country and large water-covered area. If somebody looking landscape of Dutch Republic, it's a typical of windmills. Very, very dense structure of the windmills. Not for grinding of cellars, but it's a machinery of water pumping. Water pumping. Why? For water regulation. Pushing up with help of windmills, water pumps, upper level the water. Desiccation, the water covered area. Okay, very interesting how changed the population. Population of Netherlands, it's rose from 1 million to the middle, from the beginning of 16th century to the middle of 17th century, it's a doubled. It's very surprising. Why? Because it's a very highly urbanized area. Very highly urbanized area. In the traditional time, the traditional cities, from all power, all fertility, not able to grow. Why? Because the career and the lifestyle very expensive. Therefore, the fertility of urban people much lower. Moreover, urban area is an ideal place for epidemics. Therefore, the mortality is higher. If, for example, it's a theoretical experiment. If, for example, in the past we closed one traditional city, the population, no in and no out, a population should to be expired. Why? Because fertility is not able to be positive. Therefore, the secret and the most important reason, doubling of population, immigration. Immigration to the country. The urban area in the traditional time able to grow only with help of immigration. If, for example, we try to generalize experiences about migration, the migration problem, recently it's a quite sensible topic, but if we are looking on the past, the migration, a winner, a target country, and the loser, the country who lose the population and lost the population. Generally, historically, each time the migration fortify and strengthen the area and the countries, which happened on the case of Netherlands. Good. Dutch agriculture, one of the most important sector of, and a very special sector, because you remember the fertility of landscape, it's very, very moderate. A classical agrarian activity not able to use this very poor landscape area. But as Jan de Vries, very famous agrarian history of the Dutch historiography, wrote that the capitalism of Dutch Republic based to the agriculture, based to the soil of Holland. How we can describe this situation? The first one, a high farming. Everybody knows what means the high farming. It's a scientificized farming. Not only, for example, sowing and plowing one area and change to other. No, regularly agrarian engineers calculate which is the best combination between the different plants and which is the optimal, and almost totally cancel the how the name is grazing land. Because it's possible, I spoke about European agrarian revolution, and European agrarian revolution used two kinds of soil management. The first, a two-field and three-field system. Two-field system, arable land, half of potential arable, half arable land, and other one is a fallow, it's a grazing land. For recovery of fertility power, of grazing land for arable and cereal and plant farming. But in high farming, able to cancel whole of the fallow, whole of the potential arable land used with combination of different plants, with help of combining of different plants, whole of the arable land. High farming invented in northern Italy. Why? Look at, for example, the great city-state. In Venice, living 100,000 dwellers. In Genoa, 8,000 dwellers. In Florence, 60,000 dwellers. It's a huge city-state. Therefore, grazing land, not grazing land, arable land around the city, it's very, very important to maximize the productivity. And the first station in northern Italy applied the high farming, and the second station in the Dutch Republic, and only the third one, England. But in the modern time, in the 19th century, innovation of high farming come back to Europe. Okay, but look at the phases of Dutch Republic. Appeared a high farming, and the majority of peasants produce cash crops. You know which is the cash crops. Able to sell on the market for cash, for money. Not staple foods, like for example meat, like for example cereals, but the cash crops. For example, flax, everybody know which is the flax? Raw material for textile industry, and hemp, not in the coffee shop raw material, but hemp for example, similarly for textile industry and for sailing material, grape, hops, making beers, and tobacco and dye plants. If possible, I thought about pastel. You know which is the pastel? It's very special painting material made by grass. And there is a very special color of this kind of the dye plants. And the price and the added value in the case of beers. Somebody know how many kind of beers are in Belgium? Somebody know? 450, yeah, 51, 52, I don't know. Unbelievable. And the added value making of beers, the brewery, it's very hard, very hard. This is the same situation in the case of dye plants and textile materials too. And the staple foods, like for example bread, like for example wheat, like for example rye, by Dutch peasant on the market, because this industrialized agriculture. Very important, the dairy farming, making the cheese, and the classical Dutch cheese, unbelievable large. Why? Because the cover of the cheese is drying. Therefore, with the huge size of cheese, minimize the losing part, the cover of the cheese. And one large cheese able to survive 7 years. This is the longest usable tin. It's a tin of the traditional time, because no technology for saving, for conserving food on the traditional time. The best one, making a large cheese. And therefore, a commercialized countryside is a very rich rural area. The second one, the second important raw material and pillar of feeding is the fishery. It's a coastal area located over there on the North Sea, and developed 4 branches of fishery in Dutch Republic. The first one are inshore inland waterways on the canals or very near to the coastal area. It's a most delicate, the smallest fishes. But not the first one is the most interesting, but the second one. Come in. It's optional. The second one, a herring industry. Herring industry is very, very strange. It's a little bit low, a little bit larger one, but not so large. A herring is a staple food for contemporaries. Why? Because it's possible you remember this age which about I am speaking one is a age of Little Ice Age. I'm speaking about a Little Ice Age. Okay, Little Ice Age. This is the coldest period, whole of the human history. Whole of the human history. It's possible. I spoke about it on the time of Little Ice Age. Dams, Seine, Rhine, Danube, frozen over. Each of large river of European landscape frozen over. And a lot of story, for example, about this area. It's deep snow cover during the winter time, whole of Europe. This was a very, very harsh area. On this period, decreased the vegetation period and decreased the arable land, the potential arable land. Therefore, majority of European population live in shortage, except the coastal area. Why? Because the herrings on the Middle Ages live on the Norwegian Sea. In consequence of global cooling, huge quantity of herrings move southward. Therefore, the fishery fleet, England and Dutch Republic, it was very successful. Huge quantity, 50 to 1,000 tons of herrings caught year by year. Not by chance, a herring named the contemporaries the gold of Dutch Republic. And this century baptized named to Age of Herring. Herring is a crucial. Why so important, the success of fishery fleet? Because this is the age of great geographical discovery. This is the age of colonization. And who are the most important agent of colonization? Are sailors. And generally, the coastal population. The dock workers, the sailors, the people who are living on the harbors, on the ports. And on this period, in consequence of great success of fishery fleets, this part of European population well-fed. The continental area, great shortage were, because the vegetation and the capacity of agrarian productivity decreased. The great fishery, a little bit later, I will speak about it. And the cod fishery, it's a little bit larger one. It's the second industry, second branch of Dutch fishery. And the whale fishery, you are the large mammal, large ocean mammals. Somebody know who are the most important hunter of whales in Europe? The first one, it's a Dutch people, and who are the, which folk was the second one? Somebody know? Vikings is over because Viking history closed in the High Middle Ages. It became a Norwegian, a Danish, and Sweden. It's different. No Viking. Vikings not so bothered because look at the size of Viking ship, 20 meters. Normal whale, it's a longer one. For example, hunting for whale from classical Viking ship, very dangerous enterprise. Okay, Dutch, beside the Dutch. One European folk who are a very special language. No any relatives. Basque. You know which is the Basque? Living in the northern part of Iberian Peninsula. It's a very small minority. And if somebody interested for football, the most important football club of Basque minority, Athletic Bilbao. Athletic Bilbao. And I don't know why, Basque people was the second important whale hunter. Okay, look at the century of herring between the middle of the 16th and middle of the 17th century. 1,500 fishing vessels, fishing ships sail on the Northern Sea. It's a very important part of the fleet of Dutch Republic. 12,000 fishermen serve in these fishing vessels, and the capacity of caught animal changed between 50 to 100,000 tons of salt and smoked fish, small or salted herring. It's very important. It's staple foods for the coastal population, not by chance. Dutch gold mine named this kind of fish, and not by chance, one of the most important international treaties, Act of Navigation, 2/3 of Act of Navigation declared by English king. It's described organization of herring fishery, because rivalry between English fishery fleet and a Dutch fishery fleet was one of the most important crucial conflict between these countries. Okay, very important, the fleet of the Netherlands. Fleet of the Netherlands. Contemporaries, whole of Europe had 12,000 great commercial vessels, and half of whole European fleet sailed under Dutch flags. 6,000 ships. This is the most important device of domination, a global trade. Half of fleet served under flag of Dutch Republic. A little bit less than 50,000 sailors and control the raw material of shipbuilding material from the Baltic area. Century of herring, I mentioned, yeah, and very important, it's possible I told about this story, the most important shipbuilding factory was a Sarda. I spoke about it. No, not yet. But for Russian history, it's a very interesting story. The first Tsar who left the country voluntarily was Peter the Great. And Peter the Great, Sardan was so famous that Peter the Great traveled directly to Sardan and had a license of shipbuilding engineers. Peter the Great. It's a little bit shorter period was enough for, because it was very high prestigious client of the Sardan, but Sardan was so important place that even the Russian Tsar visited here and tried to learn skills of the ship buildings. And generally, Dutch shipbuilding ships was more easily navigate and less number crew served on the Dutch commercial vessels. And of course, Dutch people saved the money, and beside the newborn ship market, beside the newborn ship market had a second-hand ships market similarly. This is the diagram about the whale hunting, and the dimension of the whale hunting demonstrate well that the best years more than 2,000 whales hunted and killed on the Northern Sea, basically by Dutch whale hunters. Okay, this is the picture about the Dutch fleet, and look at one movie, a short video about how used a Dutch sailor Dutch ships and how applied firearms.
A cruise in the Netherlands with my friend Vanessa, with a stop in the city of Lelystad. I'd never heard of it before planning this trip either. It's a completely modern town in the geographic center of the Netherlands, with, to me, one outstanding feature, the Batavia shipyards, where they've built a replica of a VOC, that's the Dutch East India Company to you, 17th century merchant trading ship. These are the ships that brought silk and spices and other treasures from the Far East and built the immense wealth of Holland that funded a huge cultural explosion called the Golden Age, and all those warehouse-lined canals of Amsterdam we still love today. I didn't sign up for just another museum tour, though. I had a mission.
It's been a long, lifelong dream of mine to fire a cannon. Yes.
Wow.
It shows a sort of, it may show an evil streak in me, but I really...
So this is
This is my day, yes.
Okay, it's about cannons.
Oh, yeah.
This is actually a trader, not a warship.
Right.
But these ships had, this one had 32 cannons on board. So you want
32.
to have a look inside?
Yes, we'd
Here we go
love
then.
Hard to imagine 5,000 ships like this over 200 years sailing to Asia in a truly groundbreaking endeavor. The first multinational corporation in the world brought back 2.5 million tons of goods in that period and became the most valuable company ever in the world, worth an estimated $7 trillion by today's currency. No wonder they needed cannons for protection.
Did you need 8 people to fire it, or just 8 people to
No,
move it?
to fire it, you need the people to move the cannon, because this one is rather heavy, like 2,000 kilo each, and you have to take it inside to load it.
Right,
Yeah.
and then push it back out.
And then push it back
I
outside,
see.
and this ship is lying still, it's not moving at all.
Right.
You can imagine when the ship is rocking in heavy weather, and you have to, well, you need at least 8 men.
That would be hard on your toes.
It sure does. The charge is black gunpowder. He puts it into the gun, he turns the spoon half turn, pulls it back. We use a kind of ram to bring it all the way down underneath this little hole. Well, you put the cannonball in. Yeah, it's a nice day, so we fire only blanks.
Okay. We're at peace.
Yeah, it's peaceful. Yeah, you never know. It can change very quickly, but we have to bring the gunpowder exactly underneath this little hole. So this is where we're going to put the fuse. The only thing we have to do is get the gun outside.
Okay, do I have pull?
There's also water to drink. Pulling the rope.
Pulling the ropes. I can pull. I can pull. Okay.
Okay.
Take it over.
You ready? Okay. Ready? Ooh! Come on. Okay. We're only missing an enemy, but okay. It's,
Oh, there must be somebody up there we don't like.
oh no, that's just someone passing on the bike. Okay, what we always do, we can sing by the drums,
Okay.
and after that, Jan was je trompet. Okay, then. Okay. Say goodbye to everyone you love.
Goodbye. It was so nice knowing you.
Okay, you ready?
Yes, we're ready.
Okay, you ready to fire?
Ready to fire.
Okay. Tom. Okay, Mia. Okay.
That was very threatening.
Oh, yes.
There you go. I don't want it.
Okay, anyway, there is a generalization about the Dutch people, which is the differences between the German and the Dutch. And the Dutch people, it's a good mood, and there is a sense of humor. It's basically different. Continue the slide series. Okay, this is I hope you remember this kind of the map I show even from the 11th century. Two core urbanized area, one in northern Italy and other one in low country, in the area of low country. And very interesting, even though it's possible at the beginning of this lecture I showed to you, which is the picture on the satellite picture during the night. The same structure. Two urbanized halls in the 11th century, 1000 years ago, in the 16th century, and even recently on low country area located in the northern Italy. This is the reason, this is the meaning and the reason of history able to identify the deep structure of the spatial and historical changes. Okay, the highest urbanization located to the low country. You can identify that the highest urbanized area, Holland and Zeeland, this is the most urbanized and the richest provinces of low country. The rate of urbanization, even the 15th century, over than 40%. Over than 40%. Highly urbanized area, highest population density, all of Europe. The density of population, 50% per square kilometer. In the contemporary, in Hungary, 10% per square kilometer. But international comparison, not so high, because in China, on the area of southern capital, in Nanking, the density of population changed around 400 person per square kilometer. In Tenochtitlan, in Aztec Empire, 200 person per square kilometer. But in Europe, this is the highest density of population. Even in the Golden Age, half of Dutch population lived in urban area. And look at, for example, if somebody will travel to Dutch Republic, recently it's a kingdom, not a republic, but historically was a republic. There are size of Amsterdam, the deep Amsterdam, only 500 million. Not so, it's named a global village. 80% of population used for traffic a bike. Unbelievable. But historically was the same used by car before the great oil crisis of the 70s. But the Dutch people, in consequence of 70s, that oil crisis changed to the bike, and it's efficient and used until now. Very highly urbanized area. Historically. Dutch cities form a power bloc and economic bloc. And leading city, obviously, Amsterdam. But recently, in Dutch area, there are 20 cities which outnumber 100,000. It's very dense urban area, historically and even recently. Division of labor, because it's a well-structured area. Industrial centers, Leiden, Haarlem, Delft. Commercial center, Dordrecht, fishery, Enkhuizen and Rotterdam. And political capital is The Hague. Okay, look at the two short video about two rural cities. Somehow the atmosphere of rural area able to demonstrate. The first one, Haarlem.
large town, including canals, cafes, markets, breweries, churches, and plenty of bike paths. Taking a small boat tour is a great way to see the city, learn its history, and simply relax as you cruise the calm waterways of the many canals. The city of Haarlem is home to 14 museums, including the Taylor's Museum, the oldest in the Netherlands, open since 1784. This museum has something intriguing for everyone, including art, minerals, fossils, coins and medals, scientific instruments, and much, much more. In central Haarlem, you will find the Grote Markt, a car-free market square, and home to St. Babokerk, an impressive Gothic-style church. Its interior is magnificent, without being overly gaudy. The organ inside the church is its most renowned feature. Built in the mid-1700s by Christian Mueller, it was the largest organ in the world at its time of completion. Mozart himself played on this organ when he was just 10 years old, and it was also made famous by its mention in the 1851 book, Moby Dick. Time your visit to Haarlem right, and you might be able to hear this organ live and in concert at one of many free performances held each week. Do you like beer? Well, even if you don't, you'll want to stop by Jokenkirk, a historic church that has been transformed into an operational and contemporary brewery, earning the honorable title Best Looking Bar in the Netherlands in 2013. If you visit Jokenkirk on a Sunday during the summer months, you will find locals and visitors alike enjoying scrumptious entrees from a collection of food trucks outside. We suggest spending at least a few days at Haarlem, and if you're looking for a place to stay, we recommend Malt's B&B Hotel.
Okay. The first one, I call your attention the importance of windmills. I spoke about basically not for grinding cereals, but activate and use for water pumping. Other one, which very important in this area, no access to stones. Therefore, majority of buildings made by bricks. Because making bricks it's feasible, because there are a large area with clay, you know, which is the clay, it's a raw material for making bricks. Okay, look at the other one. It's a Gouda. It's possible, you know, a Gouda, not only the name of one small city, but the name of cheese. It's quite a typical hard Dutch cheese. very special. Biking culture is very fast and very dangerous. I had at least 5 accidents with bikers, but one of my Dutch colleagues told to me that biker never kill me. The car is possible. Good. Okay, with help of this video, we have an impression about Amsterdam and the rural area of Dutch Republic. But realize how became an independent country of the Netherlands. Basically, Low Country, which contained Luxembourg, Belgium, and Netherlands, was a part of Habsburg Empire under the direction of Philip II. And Philip II named his enemy a bureaucrats because tried to rationalize the function of empire. And in consequence of his ambition, increased the rate of taxes. And Dutch people, didn't accept this increase of rate taxes. Is quite normal reaction. The same happened in the case of history of United States. The War of Independence, you know, the Tea Party of Boston, the story of Tea Party of Boston, started in consequence of rising up taxes by George, the first King of England. The reaction of the Dutch people was the same, rejected the offer for rising of taxes. And Philip II sent to Low Country one of his generals. His name, Don Fernando Álvarez de Toledo y Pimenta, and the short version, Duke of Alba. He was a general. Looking his face, not a classical type of humanism, and try to solve this problem. Try to solve the problem of upheaval of the Dutch people. You can see the political leader of Dutch upheaval, Count Egmont and Count Hall. The birth date different, but not by chance. The date of death was the same, because it's slaughtered by Duke of Alba. Because would like to push down the upheaval, the Dutch upheaval, and not only the leader of political upheaval sentenced to die, but huge number of Dutch noblemen. Therefore, the head of Dutch nobility is cut down. It was a special situation. Why? Because if we would like to imagine the structure of the feudal world, it's a classical pyramid. And nobility was ideal. Not only the lifestyle, but the values, for example, the fashion, everything was a model whole of the society. But in the case of Dutch area, it's hewed down, cut down, and slaughtered down, a majority of nobility. And in this critical situation, two options, a capitulation, and the second one, a defense. But who organized the defense? And the organizer of defense became a regent class, not nobleman. It's a bourgeoisie, a citizens. It was a citizenry, a very rich man, owner of vessels, merchants, and the trader, organized the defense. Majority of this regent class was a Protestant. If possible, ask you how many percent a Protestant was in Dutch Republic. Because in generalized that the Dutch Republic was a Protestant country, but how many percent? I spoke about the WASP last week, no? WASP. white Anglo-Saxon Protestant. I spoke about it. The same situation, the political class in Netherlands, a Protestant proportion of the Protestant Calvinists, much closer, a Calvinist only 20%, minority, like in the case of political history of United States. A WASP, white Anglo-Saxon Protestant, with 3 exceptions, had an American president. Obama, JFK, and Biden. JFK, Irish Catholic, Obama party, it's a black, but his mother was a classical WASP, therefore each of the education, Obama was in the elementary school, secondary school, and the university, it's a WASP environment, and the Biden is a Catholic. But any other, from George Washington, white Anglo-Saxon Protestant. A little bit same situation. A Protestant political class organized the defense against the Spanish invasion. This is the rigid class. It's a night watch. It's a famous painting of Rembrandt. Basically, this opened the question about the origin of capitalism. How organized the capitalism in Europe? This discussion, this debate started at the turn of 19th and 20th century, at the dawn of the Second Industrial Revolution. The question was, there is a connection between the Middle Ages and the modern capitalism. Basically, on the value system, which is the crucial element of the values of Middle Ages. If somebody is brave, for the value of nobility, braveness, it's a military skills and the prestige. These are the most important values. And the luxury consummation, a luxury consummation, very valuable weapons, very valuable buildings, rich and the luxury consummation. Look at the capitalism. In the capitalism, the most important values are rational decision. Rational decision and making profit, making benefit. And the question was, no connection between Middle Ages values, nobility values, and the values of capitalism. Therefore, 2 debaters participated in this discussion. Werner Zombart, very famous, no any connection to the Nazism. But his solution was a capitalism founded by foreigners. Foreigners who know under direction of Roman Catholic and the European value system. For example, Jews. The famous book of him, Die Juden und das Wirtschaftsleben. Jews and the global economy, world economy. But the discussion won by Maximilian Weber, and his solution was the capitalism founded in Europe, founded in Dutch Republic, because Dutch society truncated. You know which is the truncated. Upper part is cut down, as I mentioned before. Cut down, therefore, on the top of society, occupied by bourgeoisie. And which are the values of bourgeoisie? Rational decision, saving money, and making profit. And step by step, this value system in Europe became very successful and became a global, continental, later a global model. Therefore, the capitalism founded in Netherlands. Okay, it's a very long story because the independence war started in 1568 and closed 80 years later in 1688. Very long war. This is the map about the different phases of the war. Majority of battle on the sea won by Dutch Republic. And the majority of battle won by Spanish army, because of Spanish army are a little bit better organized, and very important peculiarity of the military campaign of Spanish army had a skates. You know which is the skate, because on the time of Little Ice Age, canals and the channels frozen over. Therefore, moving one place to other, the skate is very helpful for the Spaniard soldier. Okay, and other one, boundary of the Netherlands fortified by forts. But very interesting contradiction that after appearance of cannons, not a chance for saving the forts. Because if there is enough time, with help of cannons, destroy the wall of forts and able to occupy all of the forts, all of the fortification. Very interesting story. There is a Turkish student in the audience. No Turkish student. Hungary, large part of the Hungary in the early modern time occupied by Ottoman Empire, had 205 siege of Hungarian forts. My question, 205 siege. How many defense was successful? Zero? No, zero. A little bit better the situation. 4, only 4, which is the meaning of the fortification. Increase the expense of military campaign. Because organized army, it's firing and using cannons and firearms. It's very expensive, necessary to pay the soldier, mercenaries, so and so. Therefore, expire the money. It's burning the money. Therefore, stopping the military campaign because not enough money for, on the budget of kingdom, financing the military campaign. The fortification, not constructed for saving the area, but increase the expense of military campaign. Good. The story about the fortification, independence for each of battle on the sea, a maritime battle won by Dutch fleet. Siege of Haast. Okay, look at the economic background. The Baltic trade, as I mentioned on the time of on the lecture about the Middle Ages economic system, doorstep toward the world supremacy. Appeared the Dutch sailor in the 15th century, Charles V. I hope you remember this was the great knight, the last knight, emperor of Holy Roman Empire. Obtained Denmark, King of Denmark, the free passage for Flemish vessels to the Baltic Sea, and finally to the middle of 16th century, a Dutch sailor monopolized the raw material of shipbuilding. Okay, good. Grain, naval stores, and industrial products was one, and sail, oil, wool, wine, other one. This is classical. And very interesting story which happened between Dutch Republic and the Spanish army and the Spanish kingdom. Why? Because this is the age of great geographical discovery and the first phase of construction of the colonies. It was a great chance for social rising of Spanish people. Look at, for example, probably you know the name of Francisco Pizarro. Everybody know the name of Francisco Pizarro? Pizarro was who occupied and conquered Inca Empire, recently disappearing area. It's a southern part of America. And somebody know which was a social status of Pizarro, original social status. He was peasant and the profession shepherd of pig. Shepherd of pig. There is a shepherd hierarchy, the highest one, shepherd of ostler of horse, This is the kingdom. It's the upper part. The second one, shepherd of cattle, shepherd of sheep, and the lowest one, shepherd of pig. Somebody had a personal connection with the pigs? No? Nobody? Never? With sausages, at least. Okay, but the pig is very clever animal, unbelievable clever animal. Almost the same, the possibility of communication like a dogs, very clever, and but very dangerous. Not by chance, in the Hungarian history, the accidental, for example, death is an accident with pigs. Look at, for example, Hungarian students know this story. Prince Imre, a son of first Hungarian king, died in big accident, wild big accident, and a famous general of the 17th century, Zrínyi, died in similar. A pig is very dangerous animal, very dangerous. Why I spoke about the pigs? I lost the connection. Okay, Pizarro, turn back. Pizarro was a pig shepherd, lowest rank in the society, traveled to America, became member of colonial society, organized a small team for conquering Inca Empire, conquered Inca Empire, and received from the Philip Charles V received the highest rank which possible. In the Spanish society, he became a grand. In English society, this is the same, a lord. The highest rank. And each Spanish peasant, there is in the brain, it's may happen. Like in the modern story, you know the singer Madonna arrived to bus station of New York with $38 in the pocket. Madonna's story only one. But each young girl, young American girl, maybe imagine I may repeat the story of Madonna. A little bit was the same in the 16th century. A lot of Spanish peasants thought that it's possible I am able to jump to the top of the society. Therefore, huge number of Spanish peasants traveled to New World. And Iberian agriculture collapsed. Not able to produce enough staple foods. Therefore, a Spanish king imported staple foods from foreign countries. There is a war between Dutch Republic and Spain. But who are the most important transporters of staple foods? Dutch people. Therefore, a Spanish king had to pay to the revolted country, and the Spanish king financed the independence war against himself. It's an unbelievable situation. And finally, it's a good argument and good example. The director of global economy, it's not possible winning against that. Because a Spanish king financed the independence war against himself. No other option. Because a local agriculture, the Spanish agriculture, wasn't able to produce enough staple foods. Therefore, a Spanish king bought staple foods imported from the Baltic area from the Dutch trader, from the enemies, but no other option. Because so fragile, the Iberian Peninsula, who direct the global economy, no chance winning against them. Okay. Amsterdam became a core area of the forming global economic system. This is the map of several trade commercialized by Dutch trader. And not by chance, if we are looking trajectory of Spanish precious metal came from New World America. It's 11 tons of silver in kilograms, and majority transported to Holland, to the Netherlands. This is the structure. No other option. No feasible agriculture in the Iberian Peninsula had to buy staple foods from Dutch merchants. Okay. Other important secret of great success of Dutch Republic: immigration. Immigration. I spoke about target area of migration. Winner and losing area are losers. Look at the wave of immigration. The first wave of immigration are immigration of Jews. Immigration of Jews from Iberian Peninsula. Why so important immigration of Jews? For two reasons. The first one, if we are looking at the Spanish nation, no real Spanish nation, no real nation on the Iberian Peninsula. Why? Because the personal identity, as I mentioned before, a Basque identity, a Basque people never declare about themselves that I am a Spaniard. Never. Basque identity define his peculiarity. And other one, you know, the Catalonia. Recently, Catalonia, it's a capital of Catalonia, Barcelona. I like football, as I mentioned before, and one of the most important coach of FC Barcelona defined the Barcelona not a football club, Barcelona army of Catalonia. And if you follow, for example, a match of La Liga, the most important is a El Clásico between Real Madrid, it's a royal club, and Barcelona. Therefore, no real unification in Spain. Therefore, necessary to use some other basis of unification. Which is the basis of unification in Spain? A Catholicism. A fearful, everybody Catholic. And for fearful Catholicism, necessary enemies. And who are the ideal enemies? The Jews. And the Jews escaped from Iberian Peninsula, and one of the best places for settling down is a Dutch Republic. Why? It's possible, I told to you, toleration, religious toleration, one of the most sensible indicators of direction of development. If one area is down, appear religious intoleration. And there is a toleration, it's indicator of great recovery. Usable not only in the 16th century, but even recently. Intoleration, it's social indicator of decline, and toleration indicator of recovery. In this area was a great tradition of toleration. Moreover, Jewish people lived in diaspora. Diaspora, two kinds of diaspora. Had a Sephardi diaspora in Muslim area and Ashkenazi diaspora in Christian area. Therefore, in this area, a Jewish trader had a global network. Everywhere had a relatives and a social connection. Therefore, a Dutch Republic, when settled down the Jews merchant, used the relation, the European and the global relation of the Jews trade. First. Secondly, because Jews lived in diaspora and traveled one family, other relatives, and learned a lot of languages. The most popular translator on the time, in the early modern time, 16th, 17th, and 18th century, were Jews. The translator of Spanish king, translator of Pope, translator of Sultan of Ottoman Empire was a Jewish people. because for diaspora and familiar connection, learn a lot of languages. Muslim languages, Arabian and the Spanish, Italian, different dialect. It's very popular, very useful citizen had in the Dutch Republic. Look at the second one, Antwerp. A citizen of Antwerp, after a short siege of Spanish army, escaped to Amsterdam. Had two positive consequences. The first, Antwerp, a rich city, and potential rival of Amsterdam, because citizen elite of Antwerp moved to Amsterdam, rival is down, and the budget of Amsterdam doubled in consequence of Antwerp immigration. A Huguenots. You know which is the name of what mean the Huguenots? It's a Calvinist French people. Calvinism appeared in the 16th century and started a religious civil war in consequence in the second half of 16th century. And had temporary regional independence of Calvinism in France. But Louis XIV declared it's cancelled all of the local independence, and 200,000 Huguenots, Calvinists, mainly artisan and noblemen, left the country and moved three directions. It's a Protestant country. England, the Netherlands, and Germany, German principalities. And the effect of Huguenots demonstrate well that in Prussia, you know, this is a principality, Prussia, had a small city and arrived the first wave of Huguenots and constructed the church of Huguenots, started the career of this settlement. That's very much before, it's a market city. It's a market city. This city named Berlin, and recently capital of Germany. But the career of Berlin started in consequence of immigration of Huguenots. It's very useful immigrant. And basically, the poor people, the daily worker, guest worker, was a German. Very interesting. When it's possible, I told to you, in the 90s, I stayed abroad. In Switzerland, in Germany, in France, in Czech Republic, and very interesting looking back from abroad. And very interesting, when I arrived and stayed in Switzerland, the Swiss joke, was against the Austrian people, and the Austrian people, from the Swiss perspective, the poor people, undereducated, and different perspective. And very interesting, the same situation happened in Dutch Republic. The poor people, undereducated people, are Germans. Why? Because Netherlands was the richest country whole of the Europe. And the guest worker came from North Germany. Therefore, Dutch people disdain the Germans. Not like each other. Not like even now. And German, Hollandganger, for example, dikers and servant and familiar servant were Dutch people. Some historical mention about for example, the Jews, about the Portuguese Jews wrote, the Jews, all the foreigners having opened their own worldwide commerce for them. English pamphlet wrote in the 17th century, and Ferdinand wrote, Jews like that oil on the water records the form of water but doesn't dissolve in the water. Good, this is the most important age of migration in early modern time. And migration source of Amsterdam, you can see I will load up to the call space, and migration of domestic servant. Okay, it's good example of religious toleration. in Amsterdam had 25 Roman Catholic Church, Dutch Reformed, Scottish Reformed, Valor Reformed, Presbyterian, Episcopalian, Lutheran, Renaissance, Mennonite, Jews, everything. If you are walking in Amsterdam, in walking distance, you can find a church for each possible religious communities. Very interesting the construction of the state, because a construction of the state is very archaical, very archaic. Basically, modern country, it's described the institution, the state institution, archaic institution, Council of State and State General set in Hague. This is a State General, which was a parliament of the country, but really in the practical decision made by two institutions. The first one, a grand pensionary. It's a prime minister. He was a prime minister. Because the richest province was Holland, each prime minister of Holland was the prime minister all of the Dutch Republic. It's named a grand pensionary. This is the most famous great pensionary prime minister of the country, Johan de Witt. But because the country formed in independence war, necessary somehow focused the military power. And one noble family, one aristocrat family survived the great massacre of Prince Duke of Alba. It's a family of Orange, Oranje, not by chance. Look at, for example, it's very frequently I cite to the football, which is the color of the football national team. It's orange. This is the official color of family of Oranje. It's an aristocrat family. He wasn't a king, a royal family, but a governor, a little bit lower. A governor. Why necessary? Because in the long independence war, necessary direct the Continental Army and the fleet too. And it was a very special construction. It was republic under direction of Prime Minister, the civil affair organized by Prime Minister, but the army necessary to organize and direct a governor, which happened, for example, in the Hungarian independence war. Kossuth Lajos, Hungarians didn't know his name, was a governor, not a king, a governor, who organized military efforts. Same situation happened. The oldest member of family Oranje was general of Continental Army and admiral of fleet. Therefore, it was a very special double construction. Okay, it's located, the institution of state in Hague, and the country officially appeared on the map, political map of Europe in consequence of Peace of Münster 1648. Somebody know which other country appeared on the political map of Europe beside the Netherlands? Switzerland. Switzerland, somebody visited in Switzerland? How long?
2 months.
2 months. Which part of Switzerland? Germany?
Yeah.
Germany. Very interesting because Switzerland, early born national state. It was unbelievable. You visited in movie? Cinema?
No.
Never?
Not in Switzerland.
No, in Switzerland. But very interesting. I stayed 1.5 years. Therefore, time by time, I visited. And there are 3 language subtitles. Because no translation, the original soundtrack English, and subtitle French, Italian, and German. And I remember I watched first time the Tarantino movie Pulp Fiction. It's quite difficult to understand the communication, but I tried to using a puzzle of listening the original soundtrack and the German, French and Italian. But finally necessary to watch the Hungarian version because the very special language skills I wasn't able to understand. Okay, but early born national state because practically no one language. At least 3 or 4 languages are French on the area of Geneva and the southern part Italy and Italian, and majority are German. It's a German. And there is a very small archaic language, a Rheto-Roman, on the upper part of the mountain area. 2 countries appeared on the political map, the Netherlands in consequence of this peace treaty, and Switzerland. Okay. Look at the global situation. This is the background in Netherlands, and look at the global situation. In the global situation, our access of European to trade, to great trading system, onto the direction of Asian trade and onto the direction of American trade. And to be a director of global trade, necessary occupy both of these kind of the trading organization. And very important and very useful strategy for coast this area, this international trade, select the weakest rival. And the weakest rival in this situation, a Portuguese empire. Portuguese empire which occupied Brazil and the coastal area of Africa and the coastal area of India until the island of Japan. And the first step necessarily discover the way, the sailing way to India. Used to commercial spy, Jan van Richoten and Cornelius Houtman. It's very dangerous to spying the sailing way because a Portuguese army and the Portuguese fleet, the Portuguese bureaucracy try to save the secret. And generally the spy killed. These spies survived these discoveries and organized first Dutch discovered the bay, which direction of the wind direction and the ocean current and so and so. It's picked this information and sailed to India. This is the Portuguese trajectory, start from Lisbon and sail between Madagascar and the African coast. And when the first Dutch fleet sailed toward Indian Ocean, this access on the channel, Madagascar channel, this is the most dangerous. Therefore, Cornelius Houtman decided to avoid the channel of Madagascar. Therefore, sail directly to Indonesia. And this became the way of Dutch fleet directly to Indonesia. And when returned to Amsterdam with 400,000 benefit, decided organized institutional background of intercontinental trade. This intercontinental trade institutional background was the Dutch East India Company, verily the Oost-Indische Company, short version is a book. This is the background, this is the economic background, 64 tons gold, the staff was 10,000, and number of vessels 160 with 8,000 soldiers. And the interest rate for 1 century, the golden age of Dutch Republic, year by year, will change between 20 to 40%. Look at, for example, the rate of profit recently in modern banks. No more than 10%. It was unbelievable. And other one, most important peculiarity of the Dutch capitalism, the VOC, the Dutch East India Company, was a private company. It's exceptional. Each of other colonizing power, Dutch Republic, England, Spain, France, Belgium, colonization Both are state organized operation, except Dutch Republic. In Dutch Republic, the colonization based to a private company. A private stockholder was a state beside a lot of private stockholders, but it was the important peculiarity of Dutch capitalism. The most important organization was a private company. Okay. This is the milestone of the Dutch commercial empire, conquered coastal area of Africa, conquered the former Portuguese bases on India, and conquered Indonesia. The core area of Dutch Indian Ocean capitalism was Batavia. Batavia, founded at the beginning of 17th century, and organized a typical, well-organized small city with 5,000 Dutch colonizers. Somebody know which is the name recently of Batavia? Jakarta. And recently living in Jakarta more than 20 million. And there is a small island in the downtown of the city, which is the Dutch colony, and which left from the Dutch colony. Okay, this is the last slide today. I ask you patience for some minutes, and we will continue in the next week.